Ocean on the Rocks, coming back to you guys with another one. Recognizing the Game, episode 46, Black Flag. Ya tu sabes. You know what it is. So this is Semen Retention and Authentic Self Part 5, and the frame of reference to the authentic self that I've been given in terms of situations is being in an intimate relationship. One way to gauge your authenticity or your authentic self is the way in which you approach situations. It's based on who you are from within and you being in alignment with yourself, being in tune with yourself. That is reflexive of your inner truth, the knowledge of self. And so when going through a breakup and you've decided to walk away and not resist the situation, especially if that person is breaking up with you, you choosing not to resist the situation and not to fight it and being able to walk away is you maintaining your power in the situation. You being tapped in and in tune with your ability to be able to walk away from the situation is indicative of how much you know who you are, how connected you are to your inner self, because you're walking away from a situation that you're choosing not to be defined by. You define yourself based on an inner understanding instead of allowing that person to define you and be the foundation of who you are simply because they're breaking up with you. No person is the foundation of who you are on a soul level. The soul is the soul. It's connected to nature and it's connected to creation. Your inner understanding must always be grounded in who you are and who you understand yourself to be, what your preferences are, what works for you, what your boundaries are, and being able to delve deep enough into yourself to not have your preference be based on bias, ignorance, or prejudice, but off of experience and an evolved awareness as to what agrees with your soul and what does not. And so your authentic self is capable of much more than what a person says you're capable of. You can be talking to a person and tell them ideas that you have, and then they immediately say or give the antithesis of it as to why you shouldn't or can't do something. You have to go and experience that for yourself. You have to immerse yourself in it so that you can gain knowledge and see how far you can go. And when it comes to being in a relationship and going through a breakup, it's going to test you. And as you go through that process and the experience of semen retention, you're breaking up with pornography. You're breaking up with masturbation because you have a certain level of attachment to it that it has become a part of your identity. And so as with a relationship, as a period of time goes on, you have integrated that person that you're with into who you are. That can be a positive or a negative thing because you can either have grown and realize that you're capable of actually achieving the things that you desire with this person or for this person in this relationship, or it can keep you stagnant and you can devolve, developing unnatural ways of thinking and being, and picked up divisive behaviors that are ultimately in disagreement with your soul. So when you're going through a breakup and you're so caught up in the mind that what you're doing what or you've got all of these scenarios playing in your head as to why this person has broken up with you, instead of fighting it, you have to sit back and accept it and then allow those answers to come. But when you're in a negative mental space where you're obsessing over it, as you engage more and more into that, you're weakening your spirit, as that's a conversation that you're having with yourself, and you're essentially either building yourself up or tearing yourself down. Those thoughts will become who you are because you're conditioning yourself to be that by your focus on it. And the power that comes from a breakup or anything is you being able to go back to yourself, you being able to go back to that place and you separate yourself from the situation. Like when I was going through a breakup, it was hard those first 3 or 4 days. But after a couple of weeks, especially when I stopped reaching out to her, I stopped texting her, I stopped calling her, and I did semen retention for like a month. I was detached. I didn't care about anything. I only focused on what it was that I wanted to do. And I might have had a little bitterness from the situation, but I'll say that it just came from her attitude and beginning to see her for who she was, but still knowing that I'm going through that process of healing and moving forward. But where I messed up is when I allowed her back in, and that prolonged my healing process and caused me more pain in the long run until I got to that point again further down the line where I knew that I needed to cut ties with her. And when you're in your authenticity, when someone that you know is showing a clear disregard for your boundaries and what you stand for, you address that situation. But then you get to a point where it's like I have to cut ties with that person. That's what I had to do with my ex at the time. No matter how much I cared about her, when I came to the awareness that she disrespected my manhood, I was done with her. No friendship, no anything. Because you have to realize how you're devaluing yourself. You're undermining your own intelligence and your own soul when you put yourself in a position where you're constantly chasing after a woman because you're trying to get that old feeling back and how things used to be instead of accepting reality for what it is in that moment and recognizing things are not as they were. And that's something that you're meant to learn. But when you keep chasing them and putting yourself in that position, this is what I mean by recognizing the game, you know, and the system that we're brought up in and how it conditions us to be a certain way that is not true to who we are, you know. And so I'll be speaking on more of this and breaking it down further in this series of videos. It's going to be extensive, but if you're about the path and gaining the knowledge and taking your soul back, then you'll see through with the process. You'll understand what I'm doing within time. And this is what I mean by recognizing the game. Love. Salud.